My biggest lesson from 2020 was really like realizing like I don't want to say like my true potential yet, but like I was just cutting myself so short my whole life for like what I was capable of doing. Not just like income, just like impact. And it was a crazy year for me with graduating and moving to Florida. And I'm just so grateful where I'm at and kind of the decisions I made for myself and saying no to a lot of things, and finally saying yes to myself. Biggest goal for 2021, I want to be paid as exec between March and December. So get that lifestyle bonus every single month during those months. I think it'll be monumental for my income and, who I can help get paid.
Awesome.
Mine kind of goes along with what Michael just said. I think my biggest lesson was to stop thinking so small. I had been doing that for all of 2020, basically till December. But before that, I never really thought small. And then I guess for that year, for my first year of, doing Isagenix like this, I was just thinking really small. And I'm not doing that anymore. And I think it's going to show in 2021 coming up. My biggest goal, I don't know if I have my biggest goal for the whole year. I have my biggest goal for the next 3 months, and then it's probably going to change after that into something else. But for the next 3 months, my biggest goal is 3-star Golden Circle exec.
I guess I'll go next. For me, this was like a very life lesson filled year. But I think like the biggest lesson I learned was that I like to trust myself and take action and learning to let go of things, even though they were difficult and they were really, really good. But letting go of those things have led to so many better things and opportunities. And I guess like trusting intuitively and then actually putting the work behind it, not just talking about stuff. So I guess that's the biggest thing I've learned this year. But it's been exciting. I'm happy where I'm at. I think 2021 is going to be really incredible, especially starting off the year with like a group of like you guys and then some other groups I have. And I know I'm excited.
Cool. What's the goal, Colby? What do you got? What do you got on your radar for 2020?
My bad. My end goal, well, I like Caden said, I don't really have a big goal right now, but it's just to at least or to be paid executive by the end of the year, like for multiple months, because if I can get that, then I'll be set, and it's a good foundation to lead into later years in life.
All right, if you popped on late, we're sharing our biggest lessons learned, or one of your biggest lessons learned from 2020, and then a goal you have for 2021. If you'd like to share, if you don't want to share, if you're not able to, no worries. But we still got a couple people on here, so if you want to share, go ahead and unmute.
I'm looking at Lauren.
Go for it, Cody. I just like to make sure everybody else wants to go before I start talking.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't sure. I think for me, I think to a lesson that would kind of have all your lessons under them is that you can't trick your subconscious. No matter what you on the surface level might think of yourself or what you're doing, your subconscious knows, and he's always there. So I think for me, because my first 6 to 8 months, I think I had a lot of success because I saw myself as just like being good at talking to people or being able to convince people to enroll and stuff. And maybe because my actual subconscious of like on the surface level, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be this like big network marketing leader. And then 6 to 8 months later, I just enrolled a ton of people, and then a lot of people, lost a lot of people have fallen off this year. So I think because my subconscious didn't match up is like me agreeing completely with myself that I am like a big network marketing leader, that I'm ready for big team, ready to lead a lot of people. I think that didn't really match up, and so I think that's what I'm working on the most as my identity and what I truly believe in myself.
What's a goal, Cody? You didn't say goal.
Oh, do we say goal? My goal, feel good. Come on.
Yeah.
I didn't think, yeah, that's huge. That's I think just learning to, because there's always going to be times. I mean, even if you're, even when we're 5 years down the road, there's still going to be times and seasons that can keep us from feeling good and knock us out of like a good state. And I think just moving forward, my biggest goal is to learn how to snap back, like snap out of it. Boom. Like I have an episode, I have a moment, I snap back, and it doesn't turn into a week. It doesn't turn into a month. It doesn't turn into, months or a whole season or a year of that state, whether it's my belief or my health or whatever.
Nice, Cody. I'll go. So this year was pretty transformational for me. I spent 8.5 years in the Air Force as an officer. I'm a mom of 3. Some of you know this, some of you don't. But I left the military with medical retirement for post-traumatic stress. And I was a wreck. I mean, I love helping people, but I wasn't really clear on how to help myself. I just really didn't have the direction and purpose that the Air Force once gave me. And now I'm out here trying to create it for myself. And when Isagenix came along, the opportunity really of network marketing, but through this vehicle of health and wellness, through a complete stranger, Richard, some of you know him, some of you don't, but he was a complete stranger to me. He's now a great friend. This whole year has given me the gift of mindset and healing, really. I mean, I've had great success with enrolling people, similar to Cody. I have been enrolling people, but a lot of people have dropped off. And I think it was really because this year I needed to work through my own mindset of what exactly my direction and purpose was. It's culminated with such a phenomenal experience with GoPro. I'm really excited to be part of the training that GoPro Accelerator is offering, really wanting to level up. I mean, my biggest goals for the immediate future are to hit executive and three-star. But ultimately, by the end of the year, I really want to have built a team of other military members because, quite frankly, the military, as wonderful as it is, and I am grateful, I found a lot of gratitude in this last year for my experience, it's also really damaging. And a lot of people go into that career thinking that it's going to be the answer for so much, and then they end up getting trapped and they're stuck and their mindset completely plummets. And it's because they get comfortable because the military provides enough money to make it comfortable. I mean, I was an 03 captain and I was making $10,000 a month. Who wouldn't want to sit in that job? Who wouldn't want to stay there because it was comfortable? But it was absolutely sucking my soul. It was absolutely destroying who I was as a person. And so although the way that it ended for me was not great, I'm grateful for it. And so really just leaning into complete, just unwavering faith that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, that I will trust my heart, I will trust my gut. And I've never grown more than I have in my entire life. And that's saying a lot, considering I have completed a bachelor's and I have spent 8.5 years in a career and I've been deployed and I've gone through a new number of other things. I'm almost done with my master's. I mean, I know how to commit and I'm not going to turn away from this opportunity at all.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I'll go.
All right, Nick. Lesson learned from 2020, goal for 2021.
All right, so lesson learned, it was really just like focusing on what I wanted instead of other people. Really just focusing on what I wanted, really like my goals, what I wanted to change, like habits, really. Noticing that I have a lot of time. Like we all have a lot of time. 24 hours is, I mean, it's not that long, but I realize like how much I've filled the void and I have so much time. So biggest goal,
Goal, yeah.
probably, I haven't thought a lot about this yet, but I'm gonna say 3-star by the end of the year.
Awesome, Nick.
Nick, go write it down. Start writing
Gotcha.
down your goals. You know, I did 14 days, 30 goals for 14 days. That might be too much to take on just now, but seriously, guys, when you walk away from this, start writing it down. If you're not writing it down, if you're not speaking into existence, don't expect it to show up. You got to write it down.
Anybody else? Jordan?
I'll go talk. Yo, can you mute your line? I'll like turn the sound off. We got a little echo going on in here. So my biggest takeaway from 2021 was, 2020 was probably just realizing my actual potential. There were so many so many takeaways just in terms of like, gratitude, learning about like healthy habits and all that stuff. And that's beautiful. But the biggest thing was really knowing who I am and what I wanted to do, and really understanding what it takes to do like what I want to do. Because I started this year, as a fitness page, wanted to be a fitness influencer. And I would always ask everyone, I would ask everyone under the sun if I should post. And that blows my mind to think of right now, because like now I'm just doing my own thing and being my own self. And I think that was easily the biggest takeaway, is being my own self. And going into 2021, I'm going to carry that even further and be my own self, but really put so much more action into that. And I'd say my biggest goal financially would be paid as executive from March to December and so on. But my biggest goal as well is to just make as much impact and influence as I can on, social media, the people around me, and really just overall influence on like, my hometown friends, like try to show them what kind of lifestyle I'm living and how possible it is.
So I think for me in 2020, my biggest takeaway was like kind of just similar to Tyler, like who you listen to is super important, and whether that be like the news, but especially like family. Like I learned this year, like how vastly different I am from my family over the course of, 2-3 years of personal development. And going home for Thanksgiving was a big wake up call. And like the peak of COVID in March was a really big wake up call for just like how vastly different I think about the world and what I think that I'm capable of. And it was just really eye-opening. And like it really is super important who you surround yourself with and who you actually let into your mind, who you let into your brain. So that was a really big lesson for me, just to really like protect your mental energy, your actual energy. And then a goal for 2021 is just getting to paid as executive consistently for the first time ever, and getting 4-star and being consistently cycling 40 to 60 times a week.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share? All right. Going once. Going twice. Sold the Cody Cheesing. All right, cool guys. Well, I'll give you one little thing that I was gonna do like a little bit of training on this today. Since we had a smaller turnout, I think it'd be better to help, and hopefully you guys thought so as well. Just going around and sharing your goals and your lessons learned is the #1 way to make them concrete. If you learn something, the best way to make that lesson learned concrete is to write it down and tell somebody else about it. 'Cause that's how our brain works. We're very social creatures, and when we share our thoughts with someone else, our thoughts become more clear. And you guys have probably experienced this in your life. When you share a goal with someone, the first time you share it, like maybe Nick, for instance, right now, he said he hadn't thought a lot about it, and he shared it. And now, Nick, you have more clarity just by sharing it. And then the next time you share it, you're going to say something a little bit different. And the next time you share it, you probably experienced this before. And then next thing you know, you shared your vision or your thoughts or your goal with 5 people. And the 5th time you said it, is totally different than the first time you said it. You guys have probably experienced this before, because you're getting more and more clear. You have an idea, maybe you have a new idea, And every time you share it, you get more and more clear on it. So share that with people, write it down, share with people, talk to people, tell the world what you want to achieve, tell the world what you learned. It'll really help you solidify that. So two things I want to give you guys that you can take or leave. You can use this or not, but two things I think are really helpful to finding clarity around some of the stuff we're talking about for 2021. 2 exercises you can do. If you have no idea what your goals are, if you have no idea what's driving you in 2021, if you feel like, man, I don't want to talk to these guys on the Zoom call this morning because I don't even know what I want, let alone tell these people. If you feel that way, use these 2 exercises to help you. Okay. So the first exercise is to try to find out what drives you in life. And it's a series of 4 questions. So if you have a pen and paper and you want to write these down, you can write these down. The 4 questions are: number 1, what do I think about all the time? Cody, I think Cody heard this the other day. I loved it. It's so good. What do I think about all the time? What do you find yourself thinking about when your mind wanders off consistently? And there's probably something that just popped into your mind that you're always thinking about. Second thing to ask yourself is, what pain have you experienced that you never want to experience again, or that you don't want anybody else to have to experience? What pain have you experienced that you don't ever want to experience again, or you don't want anybody else to experience? The third thing is, what if you can only do 2 things for the rest of your life? What would those 2 things be? Like, if you could only put on, you might have many hats that you wear in your life on a day-to-day basis. You might be a mom, an employee, a business owner, an athlete, whatever. But if you could only put on 2 hats for the rest of your life, what are those 2 hats? And then the last question to ask yourself is, if I could only accomplish one big thing with the rest of my life, what is that one big thing I want to accomplish? So you might have already had some ideas popping off in your head, but I encourage you to take some time to really sit down and think about this and really allow yourself to think big. This is not a 2021 question thing. This is like life purpose. What drives me in my life? And what's really cool is, I know I used to think about, like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Like, it's going to fall into my lap. Your purpose is not going to fall into your lap. Your purpose is something you need to seek. And there's many different routes you can take. And it needs to be something that you actively seek. And it's probably something that's going to actively change throughout your life. But you got to have somewhere to start, because without a purpose, it's hard to get up in the morning. Without a purpose, it's hard to do the hard work that Isagenix is. I mean, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. You guys have learned that already. It's not easy. It can be very enjoyable. It can be very rewarding, and it can be very simple, but only if you have a purpose driving you. And your purpose doesn't have to be within Isagenix. Like, my purpose is not to be an Isagenix Platinum. Becoming an Isagenix Platinum serves my higher purpose. So getting clear on what it is that you're going to do to make a dent in the world in the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, then it becomes much more clear why you must do the work in your business every day, because this is teaching you the skills and creating the income that's going to allow you to achieve that purpose. That makes sense? So in those 4 questions, the guy that I heard that from, he said, and it makes so much sense. Like, that's the way our brain thinks, is first off, we just think random thoughts all day long. And then we usually focus on the ones that are painful, which is the second question. And then after we've cleared through that stuff, then we have enough time to think about what we actually want to do. But our brain is just wired to think in terms of pain and fear. And oftentimes the things that we've been through that have hurt us are the things that could be our biggest purpose if we could get over them ourselves. And Lauren alluded to that earlier today, talking about a year of healing, which has now led her to a purpose within this business that she probably would have, I'm sure Lauren would tell you would have stayed away from last year, right? There's no way you would have said that was your purpose. So the second thing that some of you guys have heard me say this before, because I love this, but the second thing is then getting clear on what those fears are so that you can get over them. So if you go through those first 4 questions, you get clear on what you want, you're not going to have some emotion attached to the goals you just shared. So a lot of you guys say paid as executive, but just imagine that you say, I think about, I think about surfing all day long. I'm just going to keep it really simple. I think about surfing all day long. I want to surf. The pain that I experience is, I know my dad loved surfing, but he was never able to do it because he was strapped to a job and he was miserable and it made him unhealthy. And now he can't even surf if he wanted to surf. And I want to avoid that myself, and I want to avoid anybody else doing that. and boom, boom, you answer those questions. You're like, okay, that's what I want to do with my life. You know, this is why I have to hit executive, because if I have the money, then I can move to a surf town and I can surf, whatever. I'm just giving a really like simple example, but that'll help you get really clear on the why behind your goal is doing that. But even when you're clear on your why behind doing it, and you're clear on the goal that you have for yourself, and you reverse engineer it back to your 2021 goal, like here's where I need to be at the end of 2021. Even when you do all that, you have an emotional reason attached to it. You're excited about it. You make your vision board about it. You're clear on the date and the time you're going to achieve your goal. All those things are so important, but none of it's as important as, okay, what are the fears that are going to stop me from doing this? Because if you weren't scared, you would have already achieved these things, because these are the things that you think about all day long. You know, the things that you guys say you want in your life, you would have done it already if there wasn't some kind of fear holding you back. And fear is a really, really old, outdated mechanism in our brain that really is not that useful in many situations. It still is in some, but a lot of times our brain, you know, our body responds like we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger because of a comment we received on Instagram. And the fear is really a bodily response. And if we can get clear on the fear that's holding us back, we can bust through our goals. So the second exercise is Tim Ferriss's fear setting. You can look it up for more detail, but the questions you ask yourself is, number one, what is the worst case scenario that could happen if I go for this? What is the absolute worst case scenario? And you allow yourself to really dream and go big on that. And you allow yourself to really dive into the details. Like, if I really went in on this and it failed, I'm going to be homeless and broke and living out of my van down by the river, and nobody's going to like me anymore. But allow yourself to really get big on there, because your brain actually tells yourself some really, really crazy stories. And it's an interesting exercise to put it on paper and see some of the crazy stuff your brain tells you. And it might be funny when you're writing it down on paper, and it might make you cry when you're writing it down on paper, but allow yourself to really, really exaggerate that, the worst case scenario that could happen, because there is a part of your brain that is playing that scenario over and over and over again in your head, which is why you haven't taken the action to achieve that yet. So that's the first question. The second question is, how likely is this to actually happen? And this is usually really eye-opening, because oftentimes our worst fears in the world are only like a 3 out of 10 as far as likelihood of happening. So then the third question is, how preventable is this from happening? So there's so many, like, how preventable is it? It's maybe like a 9 out of 10, right? All I have to do is be a little bit smart with my money, live below my means. And no matter what happens, I'm not going to end up in the van by the river, or, you know, make sure I maintain my relationships. People will be there for me if things get hard, whatever. And then the last question you ask yourself, or two more questions, I'm sorry. So worst case scenario, how likely is it? How preventable is it? And then number 4 is, what could I do to get myself back to square one? If all this actually happened, what could I do to get back to square one? Again, usually it's not as hard as you think. So I remember, like, when I was doing this for myself, I was thinking, going all in on this, what if I actually left my cushy engineering job and did this full time and everything fell through? It'd be the worst mistake ever, and everybody would laugh at me, and I'd have no money, and da-da-da-da-da. But I still have an engineering degree. I can so easily get back to square one. I can just go get another job. I have good references, a good resume. That was, for me, that was like, wow, that's really comforting. Okay. Not really that scary. And then the last question to ask yourself, the most important one, is, what are you delaying in your life out of this fear that's going to cost you who knows what? What is it going to cost you? What are you delaying, and what is it going to cost you? Because time is running out for all of us. We're all moving towards the end of our life. Time's ticking, time's ticking, time's ticking. And every day that goes by that we delay going in on our dreams, going in on our goals, because of these undefined, unclear fears, every day we delay because of that is a day lost, a day we'll never get again. And the way opportunity works is, you get a couple good ones in your life, and when the door knocks of opportunity, you got to be ready to open it. And if you're not, you got to wait till the next swing of opportunity comes around. So if you're not going to take advantage of it now because of these crazy fears you have, what is that going to cost you? And what this exercise does is, hopefully by the end, when you work through it, you can look at it and you can say, wow, the fear of changing and going all in on this is actually smaller than the fear of staying the same. The fear of making a change and going in on this is actually smaller than the fear of standing still, because if I stand still, that's really scary and I don't want to stay here. That's the idea behind that exercise. So try those out if you haven't tried either of them before. Spend some time, take an hour, go somewhere quiet, take a pen and a paper, write down your answers to those, allow yourself to think and dream and write and think big and think bold and write down what it is that you want to achieve in your life and boil that down to a goal in 2021 that has emotion attached to it for you. And then get clear on what are the fears that are going to come along your way, because they are, and we're naive to tell ourselves that they're not. And it's stupid to avoid that. We should dive into it. We should handle it head on and tackle those fears. So awesome job, guys, today sharing. Appreciate everybody that shared. Hopefully you guys find those exercises helpful. And
Hey, Tyler, can I ask one question?
yeah, go ahead.
Nick, go for it.
Nick, you go first.
Yeah, so I was watching this like a little snippet video, and this guy was talking about different pillars of your life. So whatever pillars they are for you, write down like 5 or 6 of them that are meaningful to you. So I wrote like business, health, relationship with friends, family, and God. And you write them on a scale of 1 to 10. And within 90 days, because I think Jordan posted something about this like a few days ago, like focusing. And that kind of goes into this. So every 90 days, you focus on one of those pillars. And whichever one's the lowest, then you want to build that one up every 90 days and then switch to another one. Because like our brain goes to a million different places like all the time. So staying clear every 90 days on one thing, I feel like that'll really help improve.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. It's a good tip. The 90-day thing is huge. We talked about that a lot. Cody, Michael, Caden, Taylor, and I talked a lot about that a few weeks ago here in Tampa. We talked about, a year-long goal sometimes is too big for your brain to really comprehend or really feel real. But if you talk about 90-day increments, you can really focus, and focus is the key. Focus on one course until successful. That's what it stands for. All right, Lauren, what's up?
Sorry, I'll make this super quick because I know we're right at 30 minutes. But sometimes 90 days can even be too much. So do you guys know what time blocking is? Just raise your hand. Yes, no, sure. Okay. So if you are not time blocking, start time blocking. And basically it's this concept of taking just your one day and blocking out the time for the things that you want to accomplish. Focus on just one day. 90 days is great. A year is great. Focus on one day. And when you can start repeating that one day over and over and over and over again, next thing you know, you've created all new habits. You've hit 90 days and hit so many goals. So I would just say, start small, take your day to day, write it out. How much time do you want to spend in scripture? How much time do you want to read? How much time for me? How much time do I want to be with my kids? How much time am I going to be with my business? How much time am I doing calls? So on and so on and so on, right? So I would say just take that away today, write out your day, time block.
Yeah, it's a really good way to end, because if I look at any one of your guys' iCalendars right now, I can tell you right away where you're going to be in 90 days. We can talk all about these exercises to get clear on what we want and fears and goals, but if you don't do what Lauren just said, it's all nothing. It's all for naught, because we are what we repeatedly do, and we can't say we want one thing, and then if I look at your calendar, if you say you want to be Paige Executive, I look at your calendar, I don't see a single call scheduled on there. I don't see a single time block for your messaging and your DMOs, or I see it like sparingly popped in there in between when you have a convenient hour here and there. Good luck achieving the goal. It's got to be set with intention every day. I got to be able to look at your calendar and know, Colby is going to be an executive in 90 days because of what his calendar looks like. Make it a no-brainer. Make it so obvious based on your daily actions and your schedule that's going to happen. So thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Nick. Awesome shares. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys next week. All right.